Hey, so the only reason that you're still subscribed to Paramount Plus is back. That's right, it's Dexter time. Dexter Original Sin episodes 2 and also 3 dropped today. They gave us a bonus episode, which I was actually annoyed by because, as you can see if you watch this channel, I'm in a different place today. I don't have my usual stuff with me and all that stuff. I'm visiting family in Queensland at the moment, so I don't have my lights, I don't have my microphone, all that stuff, so I apologize for the quality if it sounds like shit, all that stuff. It bothers me just as much as it bothers you. I apologize for that, but it's really not that big of a deal. I don't want to complain too much because we got extra Dexter. Woo! And more Dexter's really only a good thing. So I should probably get on to talking about it. So this video is basically going to be a spoiler-filled recap and review of both episodes 2 and 3. Going to be kind of an extra long one, so let's just get to it. Dexter Original Sin episode 2, titled Kid in a Candy Store, opens right where we left off with the first episode, with Dexter spinning in his chair in the lab at Miami Metro, starting his first day at his first job following his first kill. He's then approached by Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, whose name I keep forgetting, but I wrote it down. Apparently it's Tanya Martin, who professionally threatens Dexter to take this job seriously, and that just being smart like he was in school isn't exactly going to be bulletproof for his job. He actually has to be good at it, go-getting and all that stuff, you know? She's really just encouraging. She then gives him a brief tour of the office where we're jokingly informed that it's a bit of a shithole. As we know from the original series, Miami Metro has the highest homicide rate in the city, yet resources are scarce, cleverly suggesting that there's some incompetence here too, without coming outright and saying it. Something that we actually do already know helps Dexter get away with everything in the series to come. The remade intro then starts, and something that I didn't comment on and maybe even didn't notice during the first episode that I should mention in this video that I got in a comment from that previous video is that right at the very start when he goes to slap the mosquito, he actually misses. I somehow didn't see this even though it's like the very first thing that you see, but anyway, this kind of suggests in a quick little way that he's not as much a pro at killing. He's not so precise as the older version of himself will become. And something else that I didn't comment on during this intro as well that I did notice last time but didn't comment on is that there's this very loud crunch sound when Dexter or one of the other characters, whoever it is, during the breakfast routine bites down on some food. There's just this cartoonishly loud crunch sound. And it's so out of place and stupid, but I'm not laughing at the show being like, oh, isn't this just shit? It's more like embracing the campy side of Dexter, which it can be sometimes, in a purposeful, good way that I absolutely love. Anyway, the episode really begins with the cop side characters, though, having a casual chat, giving each other shit, stuff like that. Harry talks about how he's given up smoking and now he's relying on lollipops, which I guess is now his new dark addiction. And he cops a lot of shit from it from the captain, which I feel like is a bit of a weak attempt at the show trying to be humorous. Like, it's not that crazy that he's eating a lollipop to me. I don't think it's that funny. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't know. It's a man eating a lollipop. Do we have to keep commenting on it? Anyway, then it gets to the important stuff, which is that some important Judge Powell's kid is missing. They discuss how it could be a kidnapping or the cartel or whatever. They don't really know that much at this point. And along with that, we're also briefly shown a kid being locked in some creepy murder rapey dungeon by presumably the season's main antagonist, who dons a full face mask. We see the kid is being kept in a dark, empty room with just a bed, one source of light, water, and is given some snack pack thing like a Lunchable or whatever with crackers and dips and fruit and stuff. And it's called Sunny Smiles on the packaging. I don't know if that's important. I really feel like it's not, but it really emphasizes on it just to make sure you know it's called Sunny Smiles. Maybe it's some sort of advertising. I don't know if that's a real brand in America or what, but I just sort of comment on it anyway in case it is important somewhere down the line for whatever reason. Anyway, later on we're also briefly shown this kid once again with his arm going through like the mail slot of like the door of this dungeon place as he's trapped inside, and we hear kind of like this slice sound effect. Something is going on with his arm, and later on it's revealed to us that his finger has been cut off. But that's later. I'll get to that. Next up, it's flashback time to Patrick Dempsey's Aaron Spencer at Miami Metro. I guess this is like set sometime maybe in the 70s or something. I don't know. I wasn't alive then. Leave me alone. Anyway, he says the department needs an informant to take down the Estrada organization. Estrada being one of the men and head in charge of the people who ended up killing Dexter's mother. Clearly, this case is being set up to be somewhat linked to Dexter's origin in some strong way. I question how much Dexter will find out about this in this series though, given that he goes on to learn more in the original series and kills Estrada himself when he kills Maria LaGuerta in season 7. So there can't be that much in terms of how Dexter's related, but Harry, of course, is free to learn whatever because he's dead by the time the original series starts. Something else that I wanted to comment on just briefly is that there's this character named Detective Bobby Watt, and this is a character that I haven't really been paying much attention to, didn't even even mention him in the last video, but he's somebody who's been around. He's one of the cop characters, obviously being a detective. And there's this one little tiny brief scene where he mentions that he knew Dexter as a kid ever since he, quote, was watching Scooby-Doo. So I guess maybe this is a bit more of an important character than I was thinking before. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody we should keep a closer eye on or something. I kind of doubt it. Think he's just one of those side characters that don't really go anywhere, but I thought I'd mention it. It's then announced that a drug-related homicide has taken place, an NHI as they call it, which means no humans involved. When explained, this means that the victim was somebody considered non-human, like prostitutes or homeless people, which is the most fucked up thing ever, but okay, Dexter Original Sin. Whatever, it's the 90s, I guess, and depiction doesn't exactly equal condoning that belief, so I get it. It's just that these cops are kind of scumbags for thinking this stuff. Anyway, Watt, Batista, and Morgan are on the case, and when Dexter shows interest, he's then also invited to come along. Harry takes him to the side, though, to theorize that perhaps helping out put murderers away will help him satiate his kill hunger, which is a little funny to me given that he's already killed somebody at this point. Like, he killed Nurse Mary already. I don't think that killing somebody, then going on to stop murderers, is really going to help him not want to kill people, you know? It's a little bit too late for that. I think Harry knows that, but he's so desperate to stop this, I suppose. Anyway, we then witness the big moment of Dexter's very first crime scene, as Michael C. Hall's voice reminisces fondly, describing it as Christmas morning, even with a bow on the body, a Christmas present just for him. This is more important than it seems at first, though, because it confirms that we will be seeing visualizations of what Dexter is imagining. It's probably not likely to heavily affect the plot or anything like that, but it's good to know going forward. So far at the crime scene, though, Dexter isn't given much responsibility. It is just his first day. Disappointing Dexter, Tanya Martin instructs him to go get everyone coffees, because fuck him, he's a millennial, or a Gen Z, or technically probably more a Gen X given the time frame, but still, he's a youngin' and who cares? Go get coffee, fuck you. He's just a young buck not ready to go hard on more important things right now, you know what I mean? He is later then told to go off with the checklist though, and given slightly more responsibility, given some insight into the crime scene though. Tanya Martin makes a joke about how if he screws up the checklist, someone being him, will die. It plays off a bit strangely and Dexter awkwardly laughs, and I kind of love this moment showing that he doesn't really know if this was like a normal joke to make or not, and he's just kind of a weirdo who would probably make the same mistake, showing their kind of kinship bubbling to the surface. Tanya Martin then explains that the whole scene needs to be photographed, emphasizing on the blood especially, something that obviously intrigues Dexter. He then takes a closer look and we're treated to some voiceover of Dexter's natural insights. He knows the weapon used was a small caliber pistol. He knows how the blood was spattered and where the footsteps were and what all this means as to where the killer was likely standing. He knows all this shit immediately, and it's small little details and it's probably not going to solve the crime or anything, but it just shows like a sign of him having this natural instinct in knowing blood, knowing crime, all that sort of stuff, knowing about killing and whatever. So the cops are seemingly impressed by Dexter's natural insights before realizing that they're actually giving him a hard time by humoring out that what he was pointing out is very obvious to them. And I get that, like they're kind of being smartasses to him, pretending like, oh yeah, wow, teach us, young one, or whatever. But like when you start off at a job, that is what it's like, so I get it, but I feel like it's a bit dumb given how serious the subject matter is. But Harry does point out that they kind of have to joke around the dead bodies and stuff just to keep their own sanity, so it kind of makes sense. But regardless, it kind of pissed me off because it's like, yeah, sure, maybe it's obvious to them, but is it not a promising sign of what's to come from Dexter that he has insight in these sorts of things? Maybe they could use that, maybe it could develop into better skills and stuff. Sure, it's not that useful at the moment, but you don't have to like dick around and bully him all the time. Maybe I was just taking things personally though. We then cut to Deborah and her friend, I think named Sophia. Correct me if I'm wrong, I had trouble with this character's name. I think Harry referred to her as Sophia later, but all I saw on IMDb was somebody named Jen, and I don't think that that was actually her. It didn't look enough like her, but it was the only person that could have been her. I don't know, I think this Sophia actor for some reason isn't on IMDb. It's strange. Anyway, we see them two living large near the beach, shopping for sunglasses. Apparently her friend is a bit of a troublemaker, pawning off family members' possessions for cash, and to be honest, this seemed very hugely unimportant to me as I noted everything down, but I wrote it down nonetheless, and then it did add to the plot, so yay me. Anyway, this entire scene seems fairly unimportant as they talk shit though. The real point is setting up that Deborah is now going to look around the house for things to sell. Who knows what she'll find? Dun dun dun! She's going to look around Dexter's room and find We'll get to that. Okay, so anyway, flashback again. Flashback time. This is a flashback to Harry in the 70s again, going off to buy drugs, only to reveal that nope, he's actually an undercover cop, and he is arresting some random perp, apparently named Joe. That guy's not important, he's just some random, but the thing that does matter is the woman who is with during the arrest, Laura Moser, Dexter's mother, telling me we're going to watch the rise and fall of Harry and her relationship throughout the series. That quite interests me too, given that yes, we were told this backstory in the original series, but it was never largely a huge focus, and I always felt a little bit like I was missing details. And to see it actually play out this time, I might understand it just a little bit more. Maybe that's just a me thing and I'm an idiot, but I'm excited to see it. Anyway, something else that I wanted to point out that I forgot to talk about in the previous episode, by the way, is that Christian Slater, right, his casting as Harry, I'm not really a fan. I don't really like him as the character, primarily because he doesn't look like the original actor of Harry. He just doesn't look like the guy, and it really throws me off, especially given that Batista and Masuka look so perfect. You know, in comparison, Harry just looks so off. Present day, back to present day, in Original Sin anyway. The main Miami Metro crew are on break having lunch. Some guy comes up to Dexter asking to borrow the seat next to him, but he says that he's saved seats for the guys, and Dexter's inner monologue tells us that he's realizing that he has friends for the first time. How cute, aww. Before they immediately continue to bully him again for thinking that he was hot shit earlier. Just lighthearted ribbing though, the severity of this being that he doesn't have meat in his first bite of his sandwich, so it's not really a big deal, but you know. He's then given his Miami Metro laminate by Masuka and immediately thinks he fits in again too, and gets too confident, which ends up making it so that he gives shit to one of the cops by saying something morbid about him getting a heart attack, which doesn't play out so well. Which is always funny when we see that Dexter is kind of a weirdo and doesn't really get normal human interaction. Anyway, cut back to the Morgan household now. Deborah notices Dexter is in a weirdly good mood. What, did you get laid or something, she asks. And he says something like that. Do you get it? Because he killed somebody and that was something like getting laid to Dexter. Yeah, to Dexter, killing is kind of like the pleasure of sex, which is gross to me, but I guess he is a serial killer. That is a very real thing that they go through, you know? Penetration is penetration to a serial killer, I guess, and that's the most disgusting thing I've ever said in a video. Moving on. The term Fuckosaurus Rex is also stated in this episode. Young Deborah is finding her footing in the role, in my opinion. However, from what I've read, she is the character that most people are mixed on. I don't know, maybe that's got to do with just like it being a female character. They aren't always the most popular. Check Breaking Bad and Skylar. Everyone hates Skylar. It's unjust. It's stupid. I disagree, but those are people's opinions. Anyway, I don't want to just call out everybody and say you're sexist if you dislike Deborah, because that's unfair, but I think she's doing a fine job, personally. A conversation between Dex and Harry then takes place. Dexter deduces that Harry has been smoking again, which he shouldn't be following his heart attack. And they're keeping this from Deborah, who has cooked some healthy vegan tofu kebab stuff or whatever the fuck it is, which Harry is extremely displeased with, and she says a big fuck you and leaves. And she says this line where she answers the phone. She's like, Morgan residents, underappreciated daughter speaking. I love that little moment. I don't know. She's a smart ass, and I think she's a good character. I think this actor's doing a good job, is my point. Anyway, the real important moment here, though, is them talking about the difference between med school, the Miami Metro crime scene job, and killing Nurse Mary in the previous episode. The new job gives him more of a rush than med school, but nothing touches the euphoric, indescribable excitement of actual murder, which basically suggests that there ain't no stopping Dexter. We all know where he's headed, including Dexter and Harry in the present moment. After that, we're then shown Dexter laying in bed worrying about how Harry doesn't want Dexter to kill anymore. Then we get a brief glimpse of Dexter's VHS collection, including Psycho, It, Evil Dead, and Darkman, and I was just like nerding out in this moment. I wanted to see what Dexter's VHS collection consisted of. Being like a big movie collector and stuff, I just absolutely love seeing those sorts of tiny insights. Anyway, we then see that in A Nightmare on Elm Street, nice choice, we see that he has been hiding Nurse Mary's earrings in that case. His trophies that he mistakenly took, and is bound to lead to trouble soon. Flashback, Harry flashback time. We then see that the cops are now interrogating the drug dealer Joe, who they took down in the previous flashback. They're trying to wear him down to learn facts about Estrada, the guy that he works for, but he won't break. Harry then interviews Laura Moser, not interrogates, but interviews her. It's a bit less intense, but when asking when she started dealing drugs with Joe and all that, she also won't budge. But we're then informed that Dexter and Brian are children, her children, who are being looked after by her neighbor at the moment. She really just wants to get back to them. Putting in a time frame of where exactly Dexter is within this timeline at the moment. And, it's something that I guess we already pretty much knew, but it's just interesting knowing, oh yeah, Dexter's around in some small way. But the idea is then put into flashback Harry's head to make her the informant that they'd been looking for, something that tragically will lead to her brutal death, as we know. Cut back to present day, Deborah's mad at Harry, and we see her bedroom and stuff. It's like teenage girl type posters around and everything, and she expresses her anger at the world because of her mum being gone after passing. I don't remember if we really know much details about how she died or when she died or anything like that. We're not really told that much about Deborah's mum. She's always been kind of a mystery, and even in this prequel series, it looks like they're not really going to delve deep into this character either. I looked it up, and I guess her name is Doris, by the way, Deborah's mum's name, but I literally don't know anything else about her at all, but I guess the point is that she's dead and that's it. It's really more just character development for Deb than anything else. The next morning, Dexter brings in a platter of vegetables to the office, which everyone passes on. Dipshit thinks he's being nice, but, I do like that this is kind of this little detail in which his habit of bringing in donuts or everybody started. My only issue with this is that later in this episode, he does bring in donuts, realizing his mistake. And it's a little bit of a trend here that Original Sin keeps doing here, where they're explaining how Dexter isn't quite who we know he is later on yet, but then they kind of amend that and he becomes that anyway, like within the episode, making it so that it being a prequel feels kind of pointless over and over again every single time they do it. If he starts bringing in donuts now, well, that's what he's been doing from the original series. It's a little bit of a thing showing that he fucked up the first time, but he fixed it by the second time, I guess, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. Anyway, Harry sees that he brings in vegetables, and he asks if Batista will take out Dexter for a night on the town. Paint it black or red or whatever it is they say. He pretty much wants Batista to make Dexter cool without saying it. Anyway, adding to that, he also says that it's best to keep Masuka out of this because he's best in small doses, which is the same within the series itself. And we see as across the room, Masuka mimics air humping like a woman from behind. Classic Masuka being gross, I guess. Anyway, it's then seen that Camilla, the office worker, the woman who Dexter kills with consent and key lime pie all the way back in season 3 of the original series, is then introduced in the file room. Dexter looks around at all the physical copies of the paperwork, asking why they haven't been digitalized. She answers, "I'll be good long and dead before these files get put into a computer." This shows, though, that Dexter has access to all these criminal files dating to way back when, showing all sorts of cases where criminals got off ready for the taking and Dexter's table. This is the start of him realizing all the possibilities, a kid in a candy store, some might say, for the potential victims that he may or may not go on to kill. We then cut to a court case of, I think it's Levi Reed, the home invasion killer. He pleads not guilty and then nothing happens. I guess they don't come to a legal conclusion yet. This hearing was just to see if he pled guilty or not. I don't know how court works very well. So anyway, point is the Judge Francisco Torres, which is probably not an important name, but I noted it down anyway, approaches Harry to ask about the other judge's missing kid, Jimmy Powell. Harry confirms it involves the cartel, but that's about it, in which the judge says he can't imagine losing his son. Flashback time! Harry comes home to Doris, Deborah's mum. We see that they're having trouble having a baby, something she refers to as a replacement of the kid who we saw died in the last episode, which I thought was a bit weird, a bit of a weird way to put it, as a replacement, being so that if this birth is successful and they do have another kid, you're just a replacement of the dead kid. I don't know, I thought that was a little bit weird, but hey, I've never lost a kid, so who am I to judge? Anyway, later though, but still within the flashback, Harry drops off Laura after interviewing her at the police station, and he's briefly introduced to Dexter and Biney ice truck killer Brian, who gives honestly not that menacing a look, but the music and Harry's reaction will have you believe otherwise. Cut back to present day though, and we see that Deb is looking to steal from her own family. She's looking to take some of Dexter's possessions to then pawn off and sell for cash, and of course she comes across Dexter's VHS tapes, as she exclaims that they'll be $30 a tape, and I'm like, whoa, $30 for a VHS? Nice. Anyway, and she goes up to, of course, one of those tapes and finds the hidden earrings, which is bad, I guess, but we also know that she doesn't find anything out, so this really isn't filled with that much dramatic tension, if I'm being honest. She ends up also, though, giving away her dead mum's old necklace to the pawn shop, right before then also giving those earrings from Dexter's room to her friend, again, Sophia is her name, without even thinking about it. Totally non-ceremonial. She gives them away. It's not a big deal to Deb, or really to Sophia, not knowing how much trouble she's placing on Dexter and Harry. Later that night, Dexter and Batista are hanging out at the club. Batista continues to look identical to the original actor, by the way. I'm going absolutely nuts. Every time I watch him, I'm like, they know how to clone people now. I know that they do. Like, it's some government evil conspiracy or whatever. They're cloning people, and they're using it to cast Dexter Original Sin. But yeah, there are a lot of similarities though, like how he chucks in random Spanish words among mostly English, the way he tries to teach Dexter to be cool, and the way he is just openly dancing with no ego at the club is also that character as we hear that classic Dexter Spanish music in the background. The level of offense on the face he makes when Dexter informs him that he doesn't dance is also hilarious. He looks so offended. It's great. Anyway, Batista tells the tragic backstory of Renee, the old busboy who used to work in the restaurant club that they're at. He talks about how he ended up in debt to some unsavory people, specifically handsome Tony Farah, who he borrowed money from with insanely impossible to pay back interest. And when being threatened to pay the money back though, Renee's mother Carla Caballa was shot in the alteration, and Renee committed suicide a week later. Farah obviously got away with it because this is Dexter and the bad guy always has to get away, allowing Dexter to kill them, right? Obviously. And of course, we're set up for another person for Dexter to kill. Some guy who killed some people back in the day. Come on, it's perfect. He got away with it for like a number of years or whatever. Come on, Dexter's obviously going to take him out. And that's where we're headed for the rest of this and next episode. At the end of this episode though, it's revealed that Judge Powell's kid Jimmy's finger, that was a weird sentence. At the end of this episode though, it's revealed that Judge Powell's kid Jimmy's finger was sent to his father, implying the kidnapping has a lot more to do with the judge than the kid himself. It's not some sort of weird fetish or whatever where they want to kill this kid and do whatever the hell else they're going to do to him. It's more about sending a message, and it's more political than that. And I'm sure some big conspiracy story will play out through this season. The important thing though is that Dexter wants this criminal's blood, but that it's going to have to wait as he sets on killing Tony Farah, starting his plan and ending this episode out. Episode 2, 3. Episode 3, titled Miami Vice, opens with a televised police presentation by Captain Spencer about the abduction of Jimmy Powell, announcing that Miami as a city will be taking this attack personally. Something to note though is that we're also told that he has a personal history with the Powell family, meaning that he's also extra taking this thing personally. And Miami Metro watches the presentation seriously determined, but maybe none as strongly as Dexter personally, who has decided he will absolutely be killing the person responsible. No doubt the big bad of this season. And so it's basically a given, since this is Dexter, that this guy is either dying in episode 9 or 10. I'm gonna guess 9. Dude's dead by episode 9. You quote me on that. Anyway, next up is Deborah. She is shown in high school at this point. It's described that she is determined to make layoff captain to get a scholarship for college, and I have to say, I like don't care about this at all. I don't care. Cool. She plays volleyball. She's in high school. I don't care. But this scene does set up though her mortal enemy, Tiff. Some girl who also plays volleyball in high school. Oh, dun dun dun! Tiff, she's gonna be the big bad of this season, maybe. Tiff is having a pool party this weekend. Wowee. But Deb has a big plan to outdo her by providing cocaine to all her high school friends at her own party, letting everyone know of her plans and cementing herself in expectation. It's here where I gotta say that high school drama is not exactly where I want to be when I'm watching Dexter. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, and I've seen other high school kind of shows. I watched all of Gossip Girl, I watched all of other things, I don't know, but the point is that's not really what Dexter is. It's a bit out of place here, but I guess they need to have Deb do something. Anyway, next up is Maria LaGuardia. She enters the scene arriving at Miami Metro, described as the woman of the hour who has recently been covered in the creatively named Miami Herald newspaper, quoted as saying that the term established in the previous episode NHI is basically fucked. Oh no, go Maria LaGuardia woke, go Miami Metro broke, I guess. That's something I wrote down that I didn't... Anyway, she's totally right though, in my opinion, and has been sent by the city commissioner to work at Miami Metro to clean things up, antagonizing the captain before she's even arrived. They're seemingly enemies right away, but in the meantime, he's given her bullshit busy work. As it stands though, LaGuardia was hated by the large majority of cops from her very arrival, as we can see. Kinda sad, really. Even Batista expresses that he feels the same way given that she made the NHI term public, making the police look bad. But again, a change needed to be made, and this is kinda how you do it. Sorry, but I'm on LaGuardia's side here. It's a shame that she goes on to still being hated later down in the timeline, throughout her entire fucking life until her death, which is really, damn, that sucks for her. Like, legitimately a sign of what women in the workplace sometimes have to deal with too. And as we see plenty of times in the original series, how she has to play the game and get things done from a political perspective to get herself ahead rather than from being liked. And I think a large part of that has to do with being a woman in the workforce and probably being a black woman in the workforce as well. She has these obstacles and we see them set up right from the start, right from her literal first step within Miami Metro. They're kind of fucked. Even though we like these characters, obviously there are some shitty things about them, which, you know, is kind of in the background of Dexter. It's not the most important part of it. It's not what the show focuses on, but it's there. And I really do like this backstory though, because it's very consistent with her character. Dexter is then shown tailing Tony Farah while he's out and about. A Dexter staple. He always does this. He has to see their routine so he knows when to get him. Anyway, rule number 2 though of the code is never kill an innocent, so he has to make sure. So he goes out of his way to Farah's house, snooping around. Bad news though, while he's there, somebody announces that they've arrived home. Honey, I'm home. Oh no, while Dexter's in the house, what's he gonna do? Only for it to be revealed that it's a parrot talking. And we get the line, Polly wanna kill her? What a fantastic line. What great cringe. I love it. I'm thankful that this season isn't scared to lean into that purposefully campy side of the series. I mean, it's classic Dexter. What do you want? Anyway, taking a look through his bookkeeping though, Dexter sees all the people Farah's preyed upon by paying loans to. The question is, what is the punishment when they can't pay that back? Farah may have killed Carla Cabello, but that was an accident in the midst of threatening Renee, kind of, I suppose. That doesn't exactly make him a murderer in my book, so Dexter has to catch him red-handed. Or at least so I thought. Later on in the episode, all they really have to do is prove that he for sure did kill Carla Cabello, and that's enough to satisfy him. I'll get to that a bit later, but to me, that doesn't exactly prove that he's like an ongoing murderer. It just proves that he did accidentally kill somebody once. But then again, he's obviously a dodgy guy who goes around threatening people with guns. He has killed people with that gun, so I guess it's pretty safe to say that he pretty much is a killer. And, you know, Dexter can kill him. It's just a bit funny that by his very second kill, there's already a little bit of grey area, you know? And it just goes to show how Dexter is always kind of contradicting himself to be honest. But that's okay, because I love Dexter. Dexter is then shown back at work asking Masuka for a fake ID because he's only 20. In America, you need to be 21 to drink and whatnot. Which is weird because you can do many other things when you turn 18. I don't get it. They got it kind of upside down there, but you can also drive when you're 16. What are you doing, America? I don't know. Anyway, the name he goes for though, the fake name, is Patrick Bateman. You know, his killer. Get it? Get it? Get it? Anyway, this is just literally an access pass though, so he won't be limited when he's trailing people. Cut back to Dexter back at home cooking though, and he's approached by Deb's friend, who may or may not be named Sophia, as I mentioned before, who's seemingly interested in him now because he's now a hotshot cop as of her understanding anyway. But the notable issue here is really that he notices that she's wearing Nurse Mary's earrings. In a plea to get them back though, Dexter approaches Deb, who bargains back for him to get cocaine for her first for that party I mentioned earlier. Yay, the stupid high school party bullshit is relevant to the plot now, I guess. Woo! Anyway, afterwards, Harry mentions that he noticed Dexter and Deb's friend again, I'm pretty sure it's Sophia, were like ogling each other. But Dex informs him about the earrings, which is really more the pressing issue. Understandably, especially following Harry thinking that Dex actually was interested in a girl. Instead, he's just pissed about this. And what follows is that shot we've seen in the promos of Harry borderline pinning Dexter up against the wall, which perfectly mirrors this shot from season 8 of Dexter doing the same to Vogel, and kind of reminds me of the scenes between him and Deborah nearing the end of the original series as well. Ending the scene though, Dexter tells Harry he's gonna go out later to Harley. It's spelt J-I-Lay, but it's like A-Harley or something.
Highlight.
Which I guess is a sport that looks like squash or racquetball, but it's also got like lacrosse kind of sticks. But the thing I question is, even if he is going to see this high-quai sport,
Highlight.
why the fuck would Harry believe this bullshit? Like, come on, it's pretty obvious where he's going. You know, that he's headed off into some sort of dark path. He's just killed somebody, and now he wants to go out at nights doing what? And you don't want to question this at all? You don't want to think about, maybe he's off trailing somebody, maybe he's killing somebody right now? Like, come on, Harry. Snap out of it. Get your head in the game. But Harry just happily accepts telling him that he's glad he's found more distractions, from killing people. Dumbass. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it turns out, though, that Dexter was partly telling the truth as he heads to this A-Halay game. A-Ah-Hala. I don't know how the fuck they said it.
Highlight.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, because the point is, at this game, Tony Farah is there, betting on whatever the fuck ALA is. I feel like I'm going crazy because I've never fucking heard of this sport.
Highlight.
Never heard of it. What the fuck is it? ALA. What the fuck is that?
Highlight.
Is this some quintessential common American sport? I doubt it. Are there any ALA movies out there?
Highlight.
What is this shit? Come on! Anyway, Dexter then goes up to Tony Farah pretending to be an head
Highlight.
with a t-shirt and sweatbands. This disguise quickly falls through though, as Farah recognizes he's just there to take out a loan, but of course this is all part of the act of baiting Farah in. Dexter knows exactly what he's doing. But it's here where I gotta point out that, like, thankfully, Farah has also never heard of Patrick Bateman. I guess he doesn't have time for movies, right? Then again, if you actually think about it, American Psycho came out in the year, I think they came out in 2000, and this is set in, like, I don't know, it's set in the 90s. I think it's set in 91, something like that. So actually, no, only the American Psycho book would exist at this point. The movie's not out yet. That's actually sort of fair enough. If Tony has not heard of Patrick Bateman. I wouldn't either. I would only have heard of Patrick Bateman because of the movie, not so much the book, because who reads? So actually fair enough. I take it all back. Flashback time. We've now got another flashback. We see Harry and Laura Moser now working together to take down bad guys and whatnot. She's dressed up to look a bit more fancy though, with the agreement that this job is keeping her out of jail and with her kids. The point though is that she's working her way up to the rankings for Harry. And during these flashbacks, I also have to say I noticed the harsh contrast between the color palette from like the warm orangey look frames to the grimy, ugly green looking ones. And I'm like, is this a Saw movie? Because like those movies, they're all about crime and killing and stuff. They're already fairly similar to Dexter in a way, but also now with the flashbacks within flashbacks and stuff, it all feels kind of similar. I'm like, shit, I'm watching a Saw movie and that ain't a bad thing. Back to present day though, Deb and Dex are now walking together, and mostly Dex is really here just to figure out how to get the earrings back, and Deb's idea is to basically replace the earrings with new ones. Her idea is to basically woo Sophia so they can all go on double dates and shit. It's more high school drama bullshit. Anyway, so he buys her new zodiac sign earrings. So with Dexter's favor set in motion, it's time for him to help Deb back by faking the promised cocaine. With his like science geek skills, he creates a fake substance with caffeine and other things, I guess. And the idea is that basically the Deb's friends won't know the difference, and so basically that makes it proper real cocaine to them because who's the wiser? I wouldn't know the difference. Anyway, the point is though that later Dexter shows up at a bar that he knows Tony Farah will be at. He plays a game of pool and very visibly loses a bet on purpose to get a rise out of him, who takes him outside and shoots his way as... I write stupid fucking sentences sometimes, I tell you that much. Bet. And who takes him outside and shoots his way as a threat. This moment was super dumb though, where like he shoots a gun right at Dexter's head but the bullet curves around him and it's like Wanted style. It's like, what? Is Tony Farah also a super assassin who believes in a fortune-telling loom now too? What is this shit? Tony Farah can bend bullets? Fuck right off. Like I know it's just an effect and it's probably more like metaphorical or whatever and it's more like a visualization of what Dexter's seeing or something, but I don't know, it's dumb. Anyway, this is all obviously part of the act though. This time to get evidence, collecting the bullet that was shot behind him. Dexter takes it to research on. Given that he knows that last time a similar situation happened with Renee, he also shot a gun to threaten him. He basically bet on him doing the same with Dexter, so that's exactly what happened here. Tanya Martin sees him doing so later at Miami Metro where he's researching on this bullet and helps him out thinking that he's just taking some extra work and learning as a new up-and-comer. She's becoming kind of a mentor figure to him as well when it comes to work-related things, as is Batista in social ways. Anyway, the research concludes that the bullets came from the same gun, confirming it was the same gun and person who killed Carla Cabello. My only issue here is that, to be honest, I personally thought that didn't confirm for sure, as I said before, that he's a murderer, an ongoing murderer. Yes, it confirms that he has killed, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean that he was a murderer who was going on to do more and more murders, you know? Even though he likely was, because again, who pulls out a gun at people that easily anyway? But still, this wasn't really any more info than we knew before. Maybe that's my fault for not doubting Batista's backstory about the death of Carla and Renee, but I believed him from the start. I'm like, okay, fact, we know that Farah shot a gun while he was threatening Renee and accidentally killed Carla, so it's a fact. But I guess Dexter had to absolutely confirm it. Confirm that he did kill at least one person, being Carla, and that's enough to be like, he killed somebody, I can kill him. So it's a little bit eager, but it's kind of fair enough, I guess, in the end. Anyway, he then tells Harry about his plan plans to go kill Tony Farah, who is disappointed that all the distractions hasn't stopped him from wanting to kill, but who's still supportive in a way. How could he not be, given that he's the one that came up with the code, you know? I guess with Vogel, by the way, but I'm confused about Vogel and about exactly where she took place in terms of the timeline, but whatever, that's another issue. Anyway, Harry suggests he come along for this kill, but Dexter refuses, letting him know that that's not who Harry is, but it is who Dexter is, and he assures him that he'll be careful. I've always liked the whole Harry helping Dexter become a killer from the original, but I won't lie, seeing it play out with Dexter as a 20-year-old kind of shows how fucked up it is. It puts it into perspective a little bit for me, where it's like, sure, Dexter couldn't exactly choose when he was a kid whether he wanted to do this stuff or not, and, you know, he was kind of inherently fucked up either way. But as an adult, as a 20-year-old who's kind of like, who's an intelligent person and stuff, sure, you might be hungry to kill, but you could not, I guess. And I know this is Dexter, and we know he goes on to kill, and I don't have a problem with that. It's Dexter. Obviously, he kills people. I love that he kills people. It's why I watch the show. But it's just something about actually watching a 20-year-old Dexter dealing with it with Harry, where it's like, Harry, what the fuck are you thinking? It just puts that side of things into perspective, if that makes sense. Flashback time! We're in another flashback. Laura Moser is picked up by a dodgy drug dealer type, and it becomes clear that they are headed on the way to the docks, where she dies. This caught me off guard a bit. I was like, well, I guess Laura Moser's a goner. I guess she's gone already, and we're going to get the bathing in blood Dexter scene from the original series. I wasn't expecting it by episode 3, but maybe that's why they released 2 episodes at once, because they really wanted to leave it on a banger run at the end, right? But it turned out I was wrong, and she comes back just fine, so never mind. I'm glad it didn't head in that direction, given that I think it's best that there's more screen time between her and Harry. She needs to be humanized a bit more, in my opinion, and also for the show to set up the connection between her and Estrada as well. Anyway, back to present day. Deb's party is now taking place, and the earrings are replaced by Sophia. Ding! Taken care of. The friends believe it's real cocaine. Ding! Taken care of. Sophia kisses Dexter. Ding! Ah, Dexter's kissing a girl. Ah, ding! Then he abruptly leaves to go for his second ever kill. Dexter arrives and waits for Tony Farah to get home, setting up a distraction by letting the parrot from earlier out. He takes him out and drags his ass back to the A sports place, whatever the fuck we call that.
Highlight.
A court, gym, whatever it is, he takes him back there. And I kind of love it. It's like, what a risky public place for a second kill. It's a bit unrealistic, but I love a thematic and cinematic kill room, and it's kind of great. As he antagonizes his prey, we're shown him throwing the sports ball his way, and one accidentally cuts his cheek, and I love that little detail, which is something that Dexter obviously continues to do as a ritual, but started off, I guess, accidentally. We then get the typical Dexter scene of them discussing their values. Tony talks about how he didn't have a choice and it wasn't his fault and all that, begging for him not to kill him, basically. And Dexter talks back a little bit, but he cuts the interaction off shortly with a slash, decapitating Tony for finality's sake, throwing his remains once again in the swamps for crocodiles to discard, along with the problematic earrings that have been nothing but trouble since he took them in episode 1, which I don't feel like was the best idea to throw them in water like that. They could be found, but whatever. The scene ends with one of Tony's arms, though, floating to the surface out of Dexter's sight, not having fully been discarded by the alligators, and suggesting that this kill is not as clean as he thinks, which I really like, but it feels wasted on a plot that I know won't really go anywhere. Dexter does not get found out. This is just furthering my opinion of this season, in that knowing everything that follows really cuts that tension short. But it's still a joy to watch. It's just that it sucks that I know everything that's going to happen, so I know that this arm isn't really going to lead to much. It might lead to suspicions. It might lead to other sorts of trouble that Dexter needs to get out of, but he's going to get out of it, you know? Or Patrick Dempsey or Sarah Michelle Gellar's characters, what are they named? Aaron Spencer or Tanya Martin might find the arm, maybe, and maybe they're going to get killed. I don't know yet. They really should play around with the actual rules of the code within this season as well, because as we know, the 2 rules, kill bad guys and also never get caught. So, the whole thing is, if one of the cops finds out, he may need to kill them even if it's an unjust kill, which is something that he has done before, at the end of New Blood and everything especially. It's part of Harry's code, so it's, that's the rule. Those are the rules he lives by. Anyway, so those are the 2 episodes. Recapped. Oh my god. Woo! Why did they have to drop 2 episodes while I'm visiting family? That's so annoying to me, but they were good episodes, I feel like. I think I liked episode 2 a little bit more than 3, but they were both good. I don't want to talk shit about 3. They were both good. I love more Dexter. I'm glad that we're in this series and everything. I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to see where the entire series goes. But, I do feel like it's going to be an uneventful series by the end. Some stuff stuff is going to happen in the middle. We're going to get context for stuff, but it's only going to lead into where we know Dexter from season 1. So there's only so many ways it can go, you know? In a way that makes it so it's safe, in a way that makes it so it's a little dull. But what I am excited for is fucking Resurrection, I'll tell you that much, but we'll talk about that more later, obviously. So I guess that's about all I have to say, and yeah, thank you for watching and all that stuff. I apologize once again for probably the shitty sound and lighting, perhaps.
Perhaps, what is this?
But yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching. Please do the things which are the like, comment, share, subscribe, all that shit. And I'm outie. Goodbye. See you next week.